Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Impact of AI Explored. This month, we are looking at copilots. They are all, there's lots of them. So we've got Marius Sanbu, and Marius is going to talk us through some of the main copilots. And
Sure. So my name is Marius Sanbu. I work as a cloud evangelist for a company called in Norway. So working mostly with public cloud services, and the last 2 years, mostly generative AI projects and copilots. A lot of copilots.
due to the number that there is, that can potentially cause issues as well and confusion. So we're going to go through some of the main ones. But to kick us off, hey, Gerjon, I think you have a news story you wanted to talk about briefly.
Yeah. I've been to the Experts Live conference in the Netherlands recently, and there was a closing keynote by a Dutch professor called Eric Scherder. It's in the Netherlands. It's a cool name, but in an international form, it's a little bit of a hassle to discuss. But his idea was he talked about artificial intelligence and how it can make us dumber, because we as humans need to be challenged mentally to do and to think about, okay, how I'm going to solve this issue, and okay, I don't have a problem don't have a solution for this problem. What can I do to fix it? And AI is going to make that a lot easier for us, because it will make a lot of decisions. And when with the introduction of the smartphone and the introduction of course of AI, they now already see that in children and young adults, there are symptoms of a less developed memory, less well-developed brain, because of all these phones and all these smart technology doing stuff for us that we needed to do ourselves. One of the things that he said was, in the old days, when we didn't have parking sensors or reversing cameras, we all could parallel park our car without any issues. But now everybody is in panic if the parking sensors don't work or the rear view camera doesn't switch on, because we don't know how to do that anymore. So that's a really cool thing, and it's more of an ethical dilemma, how you're gonna use AI and still keep yourself entertained and smart in a way. So I don't know if you have any ideas about that, but it was something that it was the closing keynote. I think it was about an hour, but I really enjoyed it because it gave me food for thought.
So just one comment. I was when you mentioned that, like, it makes us a little bit dumber. I was thinking about if you remember the movie Wall-E, where the
Yeah,
humans are just sitting in
exactly.
the chairs, and just floating around, and just they're not actually doing anything, just getting direct information from a screen, and like it feels sometimes like they're moving in that direction, right?
Yeah, where the
Uh,
computer does everything and we just sit and wait.
yeah, exactly, and I think it's a really interesting concept, because we need to think about the way that we use this type of technology, uh, and the way that we understand, okay, what kind of strengths and advantages that it actually gives us, but at the same time need to challenge ourselves a little bit more, because as you said, we can't parallel park anymore without having sensors or a camera in the back in the rear. So
Yeah, and the next phase, and James is gonna love this. Tesla is doing the auto park and the auto summon, and James is a real big Tesla fan.
aha.
No, but you can see that the things that we used to do, we don't do them anymore, and it's a skill we kind of lose. And it does something to our brain, and that's something that we might even do an episode about sometime. But it's cool for people to think about that. I'll share
If you got a
the
link to the
yeah.
presentation, we'll put it in the show notes, and then people
Exactly.
can, including myself, can go watch it. I presume it's in English.
No, it's in Dutch, but I'll find an English, or else I'll translate it using AI, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
And then,
There you go.
There's probably a
Yeah,
Copilot that we can use for that now.
yeah,
Anyway.
there's a
I'm sure
Copilot
there
we can
is a
use for that.
Copilot.
Yeah.
So
And that's a
that's a
nice
nice.
segue. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice segue.
absolutely, Marius. We've said it, like, Microsoft essentially has a co-pilot for everything at this stage. So, what's your thoughts on Copilot and the number of co-pilots that we currently have? Is it like too many?
Yeah, I think that, like, if you ask Microsoft marketing department, there's never enough co-pilots. And And I was at a conference in Denmark a couple of months ago, and when I spoke to one of the product management team from Microsoft, and where they said that okay, we have close to 73 copilots now. There's a lot of them that are published and available, and there's a lot of them still in development. And of course, like Microsoft, like all large companies, they tend to rename products from time to time. So they had like Bing Chat Enterprise, which then was named, or Bing Chat, which was also renamed Copilot. And a lot of the things that I'm struggling with on a daily basis talking to customers is trying to um, explain the differences between all these different products, what they actually do. So Microsoft is not making it easy on themselves, naming everything Copilot, because it's kind of hard to differentiate between okay, what does this Copilot do compared to the others?
Yeah, and the other thing is that they have 73 different copilots that don't talk to each other. So that also doesn't help. So you have a copilot for a thing, and they want to ask something that is not in that box.
Yeah,
you have to ask another copilot.
Yeah.
Oh, they can't interact with each other?
No, not directly. So let's say that let's do two examples. Let's say that you have a Copilot for Intune, which is one of those Copilots that can allow you to interact with all the data that you collected in Intune, and then you have, let's say, Copilot for Security, which can also look into Intune data, but from a different perspective, and also look at more at like incidents and compliance. But there's no interaction or no integration between those two Copilots there. So you can't say that, okay, I've just checked something in Copilot for Intune and then bring it into Copilot for Security. So totally different services, different licenses, of course, like most Copilots, and also different, in most cases, different data sources that they interact with.
It seems like the licensing and the interaction needs to improve between them, and you essentially have that they can talk to each other, because it kind of, otherwise it's like back in the day when we had all these application silos. You're going to have Copilot silos.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be less complicated, but it sounds like there is quite a high level of complexity there as well.
Yeah, and like let's say Copilot for Security, it comes with its own portal,
Mm.
and like the other management Copilots also is embedded as part of the admin portal. But like most, let's say Copilot for Microsoft 365, it's available as a separate chat portal. It's also embedded into Microsoft Teams. So like from the EU, coming from the EUC space, like where we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the users to actually access all these applications. Now we're getting, as you say, all these Copilot silos and portals and dashboards. And of course, it's hard for the regular end user to understand. Okay, what does this Copilot do compared to the others? And okay, where do I need to use this and actually get the information that I'm looking for? Probably should have like a Copilot of Copilots that sits on top. Probably a new portal.
Rule them all.
Yeah, to rule them all.
Yeah, and
one pane of glass, which has been our utopia, our aim in EUC for the past
for the last
decade, 2 decades at this stage.
And what I also find very interesting is that you have the Copilot for Microsoft 365, so that integrates in Word and Excel, but you can't in Word say create a PowerPoint from this presentation. But you can say in PowerPoint create a presentation from this Word document, but not open the document and say, "Oh, it's done. Let's create a presentation." So the interaction and the way users think about how they're going to use it, that we need to tell them how they need to use it, because it's not always as easy and straightforward as you might think.
Yeah, I think that many are coming from been using ChatGPT for the last year or so, and like especially in the Nordics, we have a lot of customers now that are wanting to use Copilot 365. And of course, another issue that we've had is, of course, the support for different languages. So Norwegian support came in beginning of May, so it's still in the early versions. And as you said, the second part is okay. They've been using ChatGPT for a while, which runs on the latest GPT model, but that is not, of course, not available in Copilot, because there's a certain delay between when ChatGPT or OpenAI creates a new language model till it's actually used in Copilot. So of course they're lacking behind in terms of the new functionality and of course the accuracy of the model as well. So it's trying to educate the user. Okay, how can you in the best possible way actually use these types of copilots?
No, that makes sense, and you know, you can understand the frustrations of end users, given that there is more complexity than there should be. Like the you know, the whole point of these copilots is to improve productivity, but at the same time, there seems to be some barriers towards that at the moment.
Yeah, you can see it as a work in progress, because we had the same thing what you said with application silos in the past. Applications not talking to each other. It's 2024 at the moment, and not all applications are still talking to each other. You still need to do an export here and an import there to get to data from left to right. So, and I think the Copilot and all the things on Microsoft are still, they're evolving and they're going fast, but there are a lot of steps to take before it's really 100% natural to use.
Yeah, I totally agree. And let's just think back 2 years ago. We didn't have any copilots. ChatGPT was just released in November 2022, so it's still really, really early. But as I said, it's happening so fast, so it's kind of hard to keep track of all the new changes and updates and what's going on.
Yeah, and then that's our job, to keep in touch with what's happening in the world. Pretend you're an end user who has a job, and that's not working in IT.
Yeah, and in our last episode with Brian Madden, we talked about this. Like, you know, he did the closing keynote at the VMUG in the Netherlands, and he was talking about how, you know, in the past, if we wanted to do something, we went off, we learned how to be an expert in it. You know, anything in EUC, we learned. Try doing that with AI. It's not possible. You know. There's like billions of entries about AI on a Google search. You just can't. So for someone to say they're an AI expert, you can have experience with AI, but to be an expert and know everything, it's just too much. It's and this is kind of, you know, where we're going with the Copilot as well. There's too many, and the fact that they're all so siloed as well is going to create problems for businesses in the future. And obviously, like, if you guys are going to encounter this more than me. Now, I am looking at how we implement AI from a strategic perspective, and I suppose I'm looking at what we're going to do, what solutions we're going to look at. I suppose the one thing I've found with it is your data. Your data is essential to getting this to work efficiently for you. And I've heard stories about, you know, if there's not the right, if you're using SharePoint as a repository, if the permissions are not set correctly, you can have some major issues very quickly, because someone go, what's the salary of the CEO? Bang, you know, if you haven't locked down the financials and that kind of thing. So there is, I think what we're going to see is, we talked about this last week as well. It's bigger than just, you know, implementing a Copilot or a generative AI. You have to think strategically about how you're going to implement this for your business. And I think a lot of businesses are struggling with that at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a lot of businesses also that want to implement AI because just fear of missing out of the functionality. Because, okay, I have a competitor, or I have a partner that uses Copilot, so we want to use it as well. Okay, what's the value you want to get out of it? I don't care. I just want it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of that the fear of missing out, but you actually have to take a strategic look at it as a business and go, where is this going to add value to my business? Because, you know, there's an upfront investment with this. Time, money, and effort has to be put into this, or else it's just not going to, you know, it's just going to be another tool essentially. And we all know what happens when you implement a tool in a business. Some people use it, some people don't. So AI shouldn't be a tool. It's a business strategy for, you know, accelerating your business essentially. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if of course, a lot of the things that we're working on now when we're talking to customers is seeing that, okay, how can Copilot bring value? Okay, what's the time saved on using Copilot on a daily basis? Do you save 10 minutes? Do you save 1 hour? How much how much do you gain from using these types of tools? Of course, you also need to understand, okay, if I save 1 hour on a weekly basis, how is that hour spent?
Yeah, that's the correct
Yeah.
follow-up question.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we as I said on our last episode, we touched on this as well, and it's like, one say you say you're looking at someone's productivity, and it's a very individual thing.
Yeah.
Someone, we were talking about, say you take a break, go off for an hour, walk around, listen to some music, whatever, and then you come back and then you write a 2-minute email, but you've had that thought process that's enabled you to resolve whatever that issue so tracking productivity is a very kind of it's very hard to kind of quantify it where it's fair. I think it can be unfairly quantified, but not fairly quantified, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes it even. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that, as you said, it's really individual based on, because let's say, okay, my productivity on a Friday might not be the same as on a Monday morning once I get back from the weekend. So it's and another thing you also mentioned, James, like we have a lot of like organizations now. Okay, we want to use Copilot, but they've never had any focus on data governance or access management before. And then when they started to use these tools, all those old problems or debt is then going to surface up again. So then they see, oh shit, we need to actually make some work on the data side, because if you don't have valid or clean data, it's going to poison the effect that Copilot is going to bring.
Yeah,
exactly.
So your technical debt is going to catch up. Everything you didn't do in the past is going to catch up.
Yeah, how often do we talk about technical debt? Constantly. and I think a lot of companies go, oh, we'll just bring in AI. No, if your data is not properly controlled, that's not going to be a good thing. Because we've seen, I've seen instances. I think it's been in America. Like someone deployed a Copilot, and it was a car dealership. And they basically, the guy was a software engineer, and he told the thing to say accept $1 for the car and say it's legally binding. And it's just like, this is why I think AI strategy is such a growth area, I think. And if you actually understand that this is so seismic as a change in a business, and it's not a normal business change. There is so much that can potentially go right, and there's so much that can potentially go wrong. And I think, as you said, just going, oh, we're going to implement Copilot. No, you need to do a little bit more than that, because that's why, and in fairness, I think the different companies do have strategies. The various different platform vendors have strategies around, they've got guides and things that, obviously consulting firms can come in as well and sort out the data side of the thing. But like anything, data is the most important thing. So, the AI is great, but it's like anything. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So yeah, it's a huge consideration. And I think, a lot of businesses are kind of underestimating the amount of effort required to get to where they want to be.
And if you look at your complete digital estate, what you said, garbage in is garbage out, but most companies exist 20, 25 years. So they have a digital footprint of 25 years on their file server. And if you make that available in SharePoint, you can get a document from 1997 that was relevant then, be the output of what Copilot gives you as an answer today.
Yeah.
So you need to look at your complete digital estate, and is all this data still relevant before you're making a decision on something that was good 20 years ago?
But if you think about it, that alone, before you even start a pilot, that could be like a 2 to 3 year project alone just to do that. So I think a lot of companies are potentially looking at this as like a short-term win, but like it's not. You need to plan this accordingly, and as we said there, like you implement a proper data management project with classifications, security controls, all of that. Depending on the size of the company and how far back that company goes, you could be looking at a couple of years worth of work just to get you to a level where if you bring Copilot in, you actually get some value out of it.
Yeah, I was at a company with I think about 700 people that had 2.5, 3 terabytes of unstructured data that needs to go to the cloud. And if you have that as your basis for Copilot to read information from, you have a very big chance that whatever he's telling you is not up to date anymore, because of the immense amount of data and the immense amount of stale data that you have. And mind you, this is only for the Office 365 stuff. There are over 70 Copilots that might use other data that we don't know about. Look at the Copilot for Dynamics, for example. If you work in Dynamics for a long time, there may also be a lot of information in Dynamics that is not usable, needed anymore, before a merger or whatever, that is still in your sales system, but it's not relevant anymore. But it's still there for Copilot to explore and to give back as an answer to a question.
But as you said, like I've been working with IT now for 20 years, and I've never seen like anyone that has like a good data governance structure and making sure that they're removing. Because like they open the closet and they put everything in there, and they close it, and just hope it stays there and doesn't fall out. That's the strategy that I see a lot of companies have, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then someone comes along that opens the closet, reads everything that's inside.
Yeah, exactly. That's the virtual assistant from Wall-E going around and just opening everything.
Yeah, and looking at everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get to the stage where the AI could do the data before you bring in the AI and it does the data classification for you. So,
but I think that like even though like we have those copilots that are like okay, they're reusing the existing data, but of course we can't forget that we have those copilots that okay, just for personal generative AI, that doesn't require you to have existing data, but can like help you in terms of writing content or helping be creative. So, and also that's where they see much more value and potential, because then you can get started straight away without having all those large data governance projects running.
Yeah, I was at a customer that did that had a very big web shop where they sold a lot of stuff, and they used generative AI to create the product descriptions.
Yeah,
for what they have. And most of them are surprisingly good. Not all of them are good, but you don't need to write them, you just need to check them. So their marketing department is more in the checking of the data than creating everything.
Yeah.
So that really helps them. And it's not really that complex. They just integrated it with OpenAI, and they can say, okay, I want to upload this information. This is the picture. Can you describe what it is and tell me the features?
Exactly.
Yeah. I suppose the issue around that is, and we've talked, we all know about this, but shadow IT, like if you're not quick enough at implementing it, your users are going to be using it. It's $20 a month for a ChatGPT subscription. You're telling me most people wouldn't get their credit card out and just start using AI to kind of be more productive,
or use the free one,
or use the free one, yeah. Now, if you use the free one and you're uploading your company's data to it, there's a whole big issue now. Obviously, there's the enterprise version available and that, but I think it may be a long process, but you need to start the process and let your employees know, so you can kind of mitigate what potentially could be happening with your data.
Yeah, I actually have a funny story there. There was one customer that I was working with that there was the one employee that was using ChatGPT, and it was really proud of the way that he used ChatGPT, because initially you have all these plugins, right? On ChatGPT, it was probably several hundreds of them now, but he was using one of those plugins called Chat with your PDF, right? You upload a PDF because ChatGPT didn't have that initially. Now, of course, he was using this to read business reports and so on that came in PDF format. So he showed it to me and said, okay, this just makes it a lot easier for me to actually understand and summarize the content. So then we took a close look at one of those plugins, and that was actually processing on a service in China somewhere. So it was uploading the business documents, it was sending over to China for some OCR and processing there, and then was sent over to ChatGPT, right? So it was some sensitive information that is somewhere stored in China now, but but that was information that didn't actually see, right? Because it's like abstracted away in the ChatGPT portal. So I think there's a lot of companies there that was thinking, oh shit, we have to consider what kind of information that we actually upload to this service. And I think that's where like Microsoft sees the value of Copilot, having this type of, let's say, enterprise friendly security boundaries, guardrails, and so on that the more commercial offerings don't have.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we see at most of our customers that are a little bit scared. If you tell them log on to the Bing or the Copilot in Edge, log on with your company account, it says secure on the top. Click on that and it will explain you what it's doing and how your data is secure. So that might help you mitigate the ChatGPT free version issue. Then you have your first hurdle taken. But most of companies are a little bit scared about what it's doing and are not thinking about what they're, because they say, oh, no, we don't use ChatGPT. Yes, you do. You just don't know it. What you said, the buzzword bingo, shadow IT, or it's not happening here. Yes, it's happening. I keep thinking about there was in the Iraqi war, there was the Iraqi foreign minister that was standing in Baghdad saying, there are no American tanks here. And there was one driving in the background. I sometimes feel like that when I'm talking to a customer saying, no, we don't use ChatGPT.
I think I've done like 20 or 30 like speaking sessions on generative AI the last year. And every time I've always asked the question, okay, how many here are using ChatGPT? And it's almost, in all cases, everyone.
Yeah.
And of course, like sometimes they have like this epiphany, right? Because your colleague suddenly just raises his hand. It's like, oh, you're using ChatGPT too.
yeah. And then it's no longer a secret.
No, exactly. So I think it's like a lot of companies that like, okay, we have to make these guidelines and make these tools available because, as you said, James, like shadow IT is something that's always going to happen because they've been using ChatGPT at home. And okay, we need to make these tools available in a secure way to make sure that documents are not floating back and forth between different cloud services. So we have control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's data governance and is nothing new. It's something companies should do. We've had so many products with bringing out things like data classification and all this, but this is just at the next level. Yeah. But and it's just, and as you said, I suppose.
But the problem, the problem is the data governance projects is so boring.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's not sexy. It's not sexy at all. Nobody wants no. AI is sexy. It's futuristic. But data governance, absolutely. Yeah, I did data classification projects for a company I worked for and implemented data classification software. It's boring as hell. Like it's so. But from a company perspective and controlling your intellectual property, it's essential. But as you said, it's not cool to go, oh, we're going to do a data classification project before we even implement AI, and it's like, it's boring. That's not cool.
I feel like sometimes a lot of the people I'm talking to, like children before Christmas Eve, I want to have it now. Just give me the tool.
Yeah. I promise I won't look. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that is where some companies are kind of like going full in and they've already started the whole consultation process and have implemented it and worked with platform vendors like or different commercial entities and are advancing quickly, and others are like, I don't know where to start. And I think a lot of companies I have no idea where to start. And and which is not anything new. We still see issues like around what's your application strategy for so companies, I think, struggle with these really big. So that's why I said I think as an industry, AI strategy is going to be huge in the next couple of years.
But as long as I was at a customer recently that had the IT strategy, we're going to go to the cloud. As long as your IT strategy is that well thought through, then data classification.
Lift and shift.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Why? Because it's because we need to. Okay. But if that's the idea and the matter of thinking you did about your IT strategy, implementing AI is going to be a colossal problem.
Yeah, we all know how bad lift and shift was as a strategy for moving from on-prem to cloud. Like, it was an absolute disaster in a lot of cases. So yeah, if you scale that problem by 100-fold, you've got, like, if you do a lift and shift into AI, that's how bad that could go wrong.
Yeah, and then and if you have a problem with your strategy, and as you said, Marius, you have 73 copilots that you can use, and that's only in the Microsoft ecosystem, let alone all the Groks, Meta, Claude, whatever, all these applied AI stuff like Sora and creating your own scripts or creating your own movies, etc. You're going to get lost. You have no idea. As a user and as an enterprise, you have no idea.
Yeah, now you get also the AI on these as well, or Apple Intelligence, which they called it.
Clever wordplay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also you had to talk with Brian in terms of like Windows recall as well, which, like, okay, now you have Copilot running locally as well, so you have all these different additions and features.
I don't know if you saw, right, today is what, the 14th, just in case anyone's watching this in the future, today's the 14th of June. I saw something last night, and someone was saying, I think it was Kevin Bowman, who's been talking a lot about recall. He reckons it's going to be recalled today. So watch this space.
Yeah, they just published a blog post earlier today, so the feature is postponed.
There you go. There's some exclusive news.
Yeah,
feature.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Quick, get the podcast out, Gerjon.
Yeah, I think they said that they were going to focus a little bit more on the security side before the feature is published.
I hope it's a lot more, not just a little more, given how easy it was. And oh God, yeah. Look, we all know we're so early in this whole AI thing. Like, as we said, absolutely, there's been people working on AI, machine learning for 15, 20 years, maybe longer. But like the majority of people, November 22 was when this happened. It's now June 2024. So we've had this massive hype cycle and just so many products coming out, and some of them are less than well thought out. They're scrambling, and I think companies are kind of going as well, like, what am I going to do? And it's all right to pause and think about what works best for your company. You're not going to miss out if you take the time now to start thinking about it and playing, potentially playing around with different solutions as well. But you don't have to dive with 2 feet into the water, so to speak. So it doesn't surprise me with the news you said around recall. Like some of these features just need to be a bit better thought out, and that one was really bad from a security perspective, but solutions like that are coming. So but just needs to be better thought out and implemented in the future. But yeah, we all know they're coming. So
I think that some product teams in Microsoft are so eager to push out these types of features that they're like bypassing everything in terms of security and governance and so on, just to get the feature out there.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past with non-AI products. It doesn't go well when you do that kind of thing. This is nothing new. Products being rushed to market. There's lots of in the AI space. There's lots of places we could look. If you look at that awful humane pin thing, that
and Rabbit. What's the other one?
Oh, Rabbit, yeah, both of those. Those are disasters. Like those are just. I'm sorry, you've just conned people out of money. That's ridiculous. Those two devices. They are not ready for market. Basically, what those two companies have said is, "Oh, let's do a massive beta test and charge people for it."
Just... and the idea wasn't really. There might be a use case for it, but think about it a little bit more. Exactly.
Well,
and now what you say with Edge AI of Apple Intelligence or whatever, the use case for those pins are becoming even less.
Well, yeah, and as most people have said about those two products, it could have been an app.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the new slogan instead of it could have been an email. Okay, it could be
it could have been an app. Yeah. I don't need it. I don't need another device. We all have our smartphones, so it is the perfect form factor as far as I'm concerned for what I need. I don't really want to put something on my face that looks twice as deep as a pair of snowboarding goggles, and weighs my head down. So, which could create posture issues for people in the future. So, the phone and sitting, even sitting in front of my computer is bad for you. So yeah, we don't need other things at the moment. And we're so much at the early stage of these things. There's so many things as we've said being rushed to market, and just to kind of so they don't miss that hype. But if they were actually thought about in a bit more detail, they have potential to be game changing. But at the moment, we mentioned two products, they were reviewed, and they were just, those companies are gone, and we are going to see this. We're going to see a lot of companies come and go, and at the moment, it looks like Microsoft and OpenAI are at the forefront of what's going on. But who's to say something else doesn't come along in time? NVIDIA are the ones who are really,
they're the real winners of this.
Gerjon sent me a meme the other day. It was a stand with shovels. Don't be the ones digging, be the ones supplying the shovels, and NVIDIA are the shovel manuffer.
It said, if everyone's digging gold, sell shovels, and that was
exactly. That's the exact quote, and that's so true. They are at the
because I also saw in the news a couple of days ago that Oracle Cloud now is also going to be able to provide OpenAI from their cloud service.
I saw that. And then they put out an announcement. OpenAI put out an announcement saying something. Our partnership with Microsoft is really strong. I think it was after the Apple announcement. People were like, "What's going on with the?" No, given the amount of money Microsoft have invested in OpenAI, there's nothing happening. That partnership is still very much going on, and they're utilizing Azure as their main platform. And I think for certain tasks they're utilizing Oracle because they're probably using so much Azure compute they've run out. So
it's cool to see that OpenAI seems to be becoming the standard for generative and other things AI related. So they're doing something right at the moment.
I also saw a report from Forrester where Google was actually ranked as number 1 in terms of generative AI. Yeah, so it's far up in the right corner compared to Microsoft and OpenAI. So their Vertex platform is actually pretty powerful, and they also have pretty big ecosystem. But I think they're pretty invisible compared to OpenAI because they have ChatGPT, right? So I think that's also some of the...
Well, yeah, because Google Gemini is a bit of a disaster, in fairness.
When I see these kind of reports, I always take them with a pinch of salt.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, no. I or what was the? Didn't they implement AI into search?
AI search.
Yeah, and it was so bad. It was making suggestions that, were crazy.
Yeah, I remember one of them, because let's say that you have trouble with cheese not sticking to the pizza, you should add glue to the pizza. That was one of the recommendations.
That was the one. Yes. I was like, what?
And then the other one that they had, yeah. I haven't tried it myself though, but another one was saying that you should eat at least 1 stone a day. Or one rock per day. It's probably because of the fiber, but yeah, that was one of the recommendations. But I think that was because of Google was actually using Reddit as the data source. And again, then we come back to data governance, right? In which world universe would Reddit be the source of truth for information? Never.
It's fun to go on there and laugh at things on Reddit, but absolutely never use. Yeah, that's exactly. Everything to do with AI comes down to the data it's utilizing. That is why, and I'm going to talk about my pet peeve at the moment. And I found out an answer about this, and you may have seen I put a LinkedIn post. It was about, I've been trying to do images with text on them, and the text is it, but. So I've eventually I've got several different answers. It's it only see lines and stuff like that, but it actually seems like it's to do with the model itself. And I think it's like Stable Diffusion 3, which only came out earlier this week, actually can do proper text on images, because it has been driving me crazy. Because in some of the marketing documents I've been doing, I say create an image with this text, and I'm like, I've done 10 iterations and it just keeps getting worse. It's so yeah. On that side, there needs to be a lot done. So again, another case of we're very early in this.
Yeah, and that's what we had when you started this podcast, James. We decided to create a logo using AI.
The text on the logo. Yeah.
Eat your own dog food. We said, well, let's give it a try, and then in the end, we just edited it with Adobe, and we made it different. We just started the letters because prompted for. I think you prompted for half an hour. I tried it for an hour and a half, and in the end, we just said, okay, well, fuck it. It's not for us.
but that's another interesting issue, right? Because you mentioned Adobe, and they also changed their terms of usage now, right?
Yes, they did. And this is what's going to happen more and more. And I think I saw something about Facebook and Instagram are doing something similar as well, that they can use your content to train their models. So yeah. I actually need to go and check that, because I think I need to opt out on my Facebook being allowed to do that. If that even works.
Yeah, but it's all about getting access to relevant data, right? I think that a lot of these large software vendors now, like Microsoft, Google, they need to get a hold of up-to-date, accurate, quality data to actually train those language models that they have even further.
Well, I think it's been talked about for quite a few years that data is the new oil, and no, that's definitely apparent when it comes to AI, because it needs data to train ththese models. So our data has become so valuable, and as a resource that it is more valuable than oil. So all of this goes full circle to data governance. In all forms, whether that's keeping your stuff in-house, preventing your intellectual property going out on the public internet and used for training models. But it's going to get harder and harder to do that, especially if software vendors are now training their models and on your data. So it is going to get harder and harder to do that. So I think you're going to have to get to a certain stage where it's just acceptance that it is going to be used. Your data is going to be used to train models. But I suppose it's being used for SEO and everything else. So much is already used. So is it really that? Is there anything we can really do except go off the grid?
Yeah, if you don't want someone to know, don't do it online.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's always the easy answer to be secure. Just plug out the cable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I've seen some things on Instagram around where they talk about Gen X and how they're the most dangerous generation because nothing we did when we were teenagers was filmed on the internet.
Luckily.
Luckily, exactly. But it was just a funny kind of thing that, you know, how things have changed, that everything is videoed. There's a record of it, and I'm like, nope, I don't even have a photo of whatever that was. So, or if I did, it was on a, you know, a proper camera, and the exposure was awful on it. So, it's all about the data essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. Marius, thank you so much for joining us. Gerjon, as always, it's been great. Hope everyone has enjoyed the episode. We've got lots of stuff planned. We are not taking a break during the summer. We will keep going. And we potentially are looking at even doing a live episode in November. So keep watching for more details on that. So thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.